Hello, I'm Natalie Kenway, Global Head of ESG Insight at ESG Clarity, and welcome to the Green Dream video series where we interview key figures in the responsible investment industry. Today, I'm joined by Sandra Crowl, Stewardship Director at Carmignac. Thank you very much for joining me.
Thanks, Natalie. It's great to be here today.
First of all, can you explain to me, what does ESG mean to your business and how has ESG integration evolved?
ESG at Carmignac really joins with our view that we as active managers should approach investment through a risk management lens. We want to avoid any risk in financial markets, in liquidity risk, macroeconomic risk. We obviously also want to include extra financial risks to do with environmental, social, or governance risks in our investments. We also are looking long term, given our position as investing for long-term savers. We feel that there is no company that is not taking ESG considerations seriously that will not be a successful long-term investment. And a couple of last points, that as active managers, we want to engage with companies on ESG issues. And that is a very distinct difference, I think, for perhaps some of the sustainable investments that one can achieve either through ETFs or passive management. We feel that we can gain value in engaging with companies and helping them along the curve to incorporate environmental and social aspects. And lastly, ESG for Carmignac provides opportunities. We are now in multi-decade growth, and I say secular growth, of themes because we have a roadmap, a climate neutrality roadmap, and that is providing investment opportunities. ESG integration has, like many things in sustainable investing, given new technology, given new data sets, given new transparency, it has evolved. And since our signatory to the UNPRI in 2012, I can say that we have been able to embrace ESG integration more systematically, with more broader depth, and with more action. That has been facilitated by a lot of development, particularly last year and the year before, to create our ESG proprietary platform called START. That platform really is an aggregated framework of many data providers, raw company data, sophisticated science-based technology that we can also incorporate to monitor our environmental footprint. And that has enabled not only, obviously, our equity portfolio managers to have a centralized platform for which they can aggregate their knowledge and input their proprietary analysis to a lot of company raw data, but also it's enabled our corporate bond credit investors and analysts, and it's also going forward is going to also help our sovereign bond analysts that have created their own proprietary scoring that we will also be able to funnel into this centralized aggregated platform. So that has created much more efficiency, a much more deeper data set, and also a manner in which we can capture engagements and that we can ensure that ESG is at the center of stock analysis.
Fantastic. That all sounds really interesting. Could you explain how COVID-19 has impacted the funds or the business from an ESG perspective?
Oh, for sure. I mean, a financial services company really is bound to be close to their client base, bound to be client-centric. And for us not to have been able to travel has been, for us as well as our investors, I think very, very frustrating. However, last year, as soon as we were actually communicating through webinars, through online conferences on a weekly basis to our clients, and that was from late February already last year, and that has really maintained our contact with our client base across Europe and also the other side of the Atlantic and in Asia. It's given us this connection, which has created quite a deal of success. We've had for our biannual events, we've had over 3,000 people logging in to listen to our biannual events. And just on a fund summary, we've had 500 plus investors listening in. So in some ways, we've been able to actually increase our communication, and we've certainly increased our communication to the press, which has increased around 40% last year. So I think that the communication side has not been as detrimental. We have all been remote working. Most of us are pretty much back in the office now, but I think that what our investors are telling us today in 2021, they will be really looking forward to getting some personal contact again, because that's what financial services is, and managing our investor savings. It really is a trust and a personal based relationship. So we'll all be looking forward to the time when we can, in fact, assemble our clients within a group and to have a much more enjoyable experience, for sure.
Great. And what about engagement with companies? How has that been affected by the pandemic?
Yes, it's a similar situation. Of course, companies haven't been able to travel and continue their road shows. So it has been online contact, which, again, thank goodness for great technology and for the presence that these companies now have, because they're not out traveling. We're not out traveling. In actual fact, the access has probably been strong. I wouldn't say it's less. And so because of that, again, financial services industry, we're in a very, very good situation compared to many other industries.
Well, that's good to hear. What kind of industry collaboration would you like to see in terms of tackling climate change?
That is such a brilliant question, Natalie, because of course now we have a roadmap. We have the European climate neutrality in 2050. We have a target for 2030. We now have the capacity to look at each industry, to look at each company and understand through much more sophisticated science-based technology and the information that we can have through our START ESG proprietary system, we can understand whether a company is aligning themselves with the Paris Agreement and the 2050 neutrality. Now, if that's not the case, that gives us an opportunity to engage, and we can do that individually, and we can also do it with other like-minded investors, whether it's through Climate Action 100+, Share Action, or the UNPRI collaborative platform. Now, there are, or individually, just by acknowledging that there are some like-minded investors that we may coordinate ourselves. So there is every opportunity for collaboration, for engagement, and also given the impetus of the taxonomy rules, the non-financial disclosure rules for companies, investee companies, and other accounting organization pressure for companies to be much more transparent on not only on environmental issues as well, but that really will give us a lot of depth, and we will be able to focus in on the investments that we have that we believe are not pulling their weight in heading towards this 2050 carbon neutrality.
Great, thank you. Well, that concludes part one of our Green Dream with Sandra. Please look out for the second episode. Thank you.
Thanks, Natalie.